find that and much in on page 3 and 4. And also fake preachers, that just on the cover page you also have fake preachers face new tough reform rules. Now that we'll also find in the newspaper, that's on page 2, while on the same cover page, Chancellor to MKU, keep growing your international networks. That story you'll also find on page 6 and page 7 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, as you know, let's just remind you that People Daily newspaper is a free newspaper. You can just walk on the streets, on the vendors, and pick your copy and you get to read more. I'm just going to give you a glance of what to expect to read in the People Daily newspaper. Now, moving on to page 1 of the People Daily newspaper, the state, that's on page 2, the state traces part of persons likely to have contracted monkeypox. Now, Ministry of Health has confirmed the first case in Kenya that has been reported at the Taita Taveta one stop. Now, the case about monkeypox has been reported in Kenya. Now, Kenyan government are tracing whether there are more people who have been affected with monkeypox. Monkeypox is a very dangerous disease that comes from monkeys. So that and more of that story, you'll find it there on page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. At the same time, the newly elected Msake official cites forbearance of dishonesty. That is, Msake is a Medical Students Association of Kenya. Now, those who have been elected in the office accuse predecessors that they have not actually handed over matters that are related to financial status. That you'll read also that and more on page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. And as we go on the same page, you'll find that restore first second lady office budget, says a clerk. That is a bishop of one of the churches in Kenya, that is Bishop Samuel Njiri of Steward Revival Pentecostal Church, now asks the president to restore the office of the first and the second lady. That and much of that story, you'll get to read that on page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, tribunal ruling halt IBC hiring process. Now, the tribunal, a tribunal that has been set to hear nominees or persons to be hired by the IBC halt hearing as they have rejected nomination that was done by the Azimio la Umoja. You can also read much of that story on page 3 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, to our main story, MPs pressed to endorse only and 10 candidate nominees. The US government and the Kenya Anti-Graft Agency among entities pressuring House to do the right thing. Now, they got the August House as a work to do to make sure that they nominate, vet and qualify only those who are not stained in corruption and those who met the merits of the position that they were elected to take the office by the president. That and much of the story, you'll read that on page 3 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, yesterday, Wahome failed queries from MPs in bid to retain land docket. Now, Wahome was a nominee for position of CS Cabinet Secretary for Lands, and yesterday she was vetted, and much of the question was involving the housing levy and much. That and more you go to read on page 4 of the People Daily newspaper. On the same note, Kindiki defends his 21 months tenure in the ministry. CS nominee says he is not to blame for incidents during GNZ's protest that include killing and abductions. Yesterday, when Kindiki was being vetted in the parliament, He actually distanced himself from Gen Z's protest and abduction and killings which were witnessed during the Gen Z's protest, and defending his office for the 21 months that he held the office before the president did fire the cabinet secretaries. That and much more, you'll get that on page 4. Now, Education CS Nominees lays out plans for ministry. Now, remember the nominated CS for Education, that is Julius Migosi, yesterday had to lay out plans that he has for education. Especially, he says in his defense and the plans that he had, he says that he proposes that junior secondary school be domiciled in primary schools. That and much more you'll get to read on page 4 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, let us move to page 5 of the People Daily newspaper. Wisi Kalonzo says Raila was duped to back Ruto, President Ruto. Wiper Party leader says Kenya Kwanza new look cabinet does not reflect the national unity. Now, Kalonzo yesterday in a memorial service criticized and says that they are not part of the cabinet secretary, are not part of the government, as well as saying that Raila Odinga was duped by Ruto to join the cabinet secretary, to join the government by nominating some of the persons that are now being vetted. You can read much and more. Turkana County activist differs over 258 million Tulo oil revenue payment. That and much more. You read that, a story by Hesbon Etienne. You read that and much of the story on page 5 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, PS recognizes universities' outstanding contribution to research and innovations. That you read much on page 6 as Chancellor to MKU, keep growing your international relations. And now these are what was witnessed during the graduations that was gone on. Now, much and all that you are going to read on page 6 of the People Daily newspaper. University's collaborative approach to research continues to benefit students, faculty, community. You can also read that. University acquires and all much and all that you read on page 7 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, as we move to page 8, that is on People Daily newspaper, Kenya and Uganda protest show wrote at the top. Demonstrations show citizens are tired of corruption, but political elites don't give in without a fight. Now, on recent past, we had seen demonstrations in Kenya and in Uganda. This was as a result of leaders whom Kenyan and Ugandans don't believe to are right fit for the office. And that and much of that story you'll read on story by Inge Amundsen. You can read that on page 8 of the People Daily newspaper. KU Hospital conduct first laser generated surgery on vocal palsy patient. That and much more story by Oliver Musembi. You can also read that on page 8 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, as we move to page 9, where we have the advert of Rifle Grounds, that's on 17th August at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. that you get that and much of that in the People Daily newspaper. Now to editorial that's on page 10 of the People Daily newspaper. We have quotes of the day. We have different quotes of the day there, but I'm going to read one from Kilifi County resident Eunice Katanat. Indian house crows pounce on chicks and eat them like madmen. These are not normal birds. They act wildly. You can get more of the quotes of the day as we continue. Conduct vigorous vetting. Note favors. As you can see there, we have the photo of the day. That is the cartoon of the day, whereby we have the parliament. That is, we also have the machine there, meeting of CS nominees as they pass through during vetting. You can also read that. Lawmakers faced first test on their independence. That also you'll read their story by Levi Obonyo. You get to read that and much more. Now, as we move to page 11 of the People Daily newspaper, what Kenya should do to advance Raila's AUC bid. That's a story by Suba Churchill. You can also read there. You can also read much of that. Ruto, beware likely Trojan house in Raila strategy. You can also read much, and there and below on page 11 of the People Daily newspaper, we have tweets of the day. I'm only going to read one that is from Tehran. Crazy how Israel can carry out precise attack in Terra but not in Gaza. You can also read much of tweets of the day there. While moving on to page 12 of the People Daily newspaper, we have judge issues warrant of arrest for DCI officer. Story by Winston Cheseremi. You can also read that on page 12 of the People Daily newspaper. Long jail term, hefty fines await wayward pastors. The story I gave you about, of which witness there. Task force chaired by Reverend Mutava Musimi was tasked with identifying gaps that allowed extreme religious. Now you can also read that story by Rollins Otieno. Now if you are a pastor, beware, because there's a long-term jail, hefty fine, and hefty fines that await pastors that go off board. You can read much and more of that story on page 12 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, as we move to page 8, Bomet MCS votes to impeach CEC member. You can also read much of that story. How 1982 coup attempt changed KAF officer lives. Former Kenya Air Force men living in anguish narrates how events of the day permanently changed them. You can also read the story there by Matthew Ndungu, only on page 13 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, moving on to page 14, Kenya rolls out poison in bid to cull a million inversion crown. Poison being used in Watamu and Malindi to kill the first trench of the marauding ruthless bats. Now that and more you can read on page 14 of the People Daily newspaper. Now page 15 is where we have business half, that is business news. And in business news, expect, that is African told to prioritize measures to unlock potential. That you can also read on economy, as KRA nets 43.9 billion from tax amnesty initiative. Now, the tax agency says the collection as at June 30th was from 1,064,667 individuals who took up the offer to address outstanding tax issues. That and much more, please read on page 15. That's on the Business Hub of the People Daily newspaper. Three more companies get a CMA nod to trade at the Nairobi coffee auction. That and much more, you read their story by Nicholas Waitatu. You can also read that on page 15. As we move to page 16, where we have Kenya among regional countries staring at high food import cost. Experts warn that more than 60% of the countries face low maize production levels following interruption associated with climate change. Story by Nicholas Waitatu. You can also read much and more on page 16 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, on page 17, we have, that is, CMA makes MI Vida home rate manager. You can also read much and more of that story by Noel Wandera on page 17 of the daily newspaper. Now, we have Nairobi Securities Stock Exchange and Market Watch. You will also get that and much more on page 17 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, moving on to page 18, where we have the world news. That is, Hamas leader's funeral draws crowd in Iran. Now, the Israeli army confirmed that it killed commander of Hamas military wing Mohammed Deif. That's a world news story. You can also get there. Nigerian protest high cost of living. You also read that on page 18 of the People Daily newspaper. Sudan military ruler survives drone strike. That also you'll find there on the People Daily newspaper. As Kamala hits back at Trump's false race jibes. You can also read much and all that on page 18 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, books and leisure. You can also read there much on books and leisure. You have more and more and more. Now, as we move to page 20, spice, that is flavor your day. Kenya's endless search. Like revolving door, the Kenyan music space keeps evolving to an ordinary ear to keep up with the changes in the change is hard and to understand the direction it takes. It is tricky, writes Barry Silla. You can also get much that. And when we move on to page 22, that is Boma House, home of property. You can also read there if you want to. That is, city property transaction remains steady despite economic pressure. Now, a new report reveals that rental prices across prime property in Nairobi remain resilient in the second quarter of 2024. Prices inching up for 8th straight quarter despite harsh economy. That you can also read and much more. That is tapping into the ESG agenda to impact real estate sector. That's on page 23 of the People Daily newspaper. Industry players are being encouraged to shift their attention from products and services delivery to adopting home sustainable business practices. That and much more you will read on the People Daily newspaper on page 23. Now, on click and clicks, music meets lifestyle. You can read there by Eli Guitar. Much and more you read there. Well, as we move to page 25, we have arguments and auctions. That is on People Daily newspaper. You can read that and much more. As we move to page 26, where you have time out, here is entertainment, where you find different programs of different TV programs. That is K24. You'll find there how their programs are for the day. For example, we have at 5, we have Inuka, we have News Dawn, we have K24 this morning, and much more. You'll also find there we have Kameme TV, the plans, that is their activity plans of the day, where 5 a.m. we have Imirai wrestling, and all much more. You'll also find TV programs for KBC, for KTM, Citizen, and Nation TV. You'll also find Sudoku for those who love Sudoku. It is there, and Scrabble crossword is also there for the lovers, as well as horoscope is also there. You love that, you get to find it there. Now, moving on to page 27, where we have sports. Tika per 72 course to straight gripping showdown among East African finest golfers. You'll also read that story there. Story by Lucy Olwatch. Kenya Railway Golf Club Doris Knight in action during NCBA Golf Series at the Kenya Air Force Golf Club yesterday. And the main story in the sports there is a whole lot of action. Fresh faces, season pros battle for top honors at Dar es Salaam Lush Greens. Story by Lucky Olwatch. You can also read much and that more of that on page 27 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, as we move on, now Kogalo now comes out and reveals the reasons why they withdrew late from the Coal City International Cup. A story by Bosco Ogari. One of the reasons being organizers slammed the competition, and we also have a down payment as some of the reasons that the Kogalo gave us. We also have other more reasons. You can also read much and more of that story on sports on the People Daily newspaper. Now we have Kenya gears up for world-class motocross training with MXGP Academy. Much and more you can also read. As Paris-bound pair, that is Julieta Miopo and Stacey Neema, seeks to break new ground for Kenya Taekwondo at Paris Olympics. That and much more you'll have to read on the People Daily newspaper. Now, remember, People Daily newspaper is a free newspaper. You can grab your copy. That is from the vendors and read. I'm just giving a review of what to expect on the People Daily newspaper. It is your duty to get more and read what you expect there. Remember, it is a free copy. Remember, you can walk to any vendor, meet them on the road, and pick your copy. As we do that, remember also you can leave a comment to us to know where you're watching us from and how we are giving you this, what we are giving on the newspaper review here at the Vibrant Morning, or just go to BTV Kenya, that's on YouTube page. Also go to Blackman TV, that's on Facebook page, and also BTV Kenya, that's on Twitter, and BTV Kenya on TikTok, and get much and more of what to expect on the People Daily newspaper. Now, as we move, we also realize that on page 29 of the People Daily newspaper, Last Supper, performer at Paris 2024 Olympic, cyberbullying, and much more. Snoop Dogg charm crowned while cheering on US beach volleyball, and also back to drawing board. That's a story where Malkia eager to finish their Olympic campaigns in style. Coach Munala says as he shower praise on Adhiambo. Now remember that the two previous games that the Malkia, the Kenya volleyball team, has played, that's against Brazil, they lost 3-0. They also played against I think against their second game also they lost 3-0. Now they only have one team to play against, that is Japan, and they hope to finish in style. It has not been easy, though the team has done us great. It has been a game to watch the Malkia as they do their work. Moving on to page 30, you will see the images as we bring them to you, as the People Daily newspaper captures them in Paris. We have on top the athletes competing in the men's 20-kilometer walk race at Eiffel Towers yesterday. At the same time, you see there, Malkia striker players celebrate after scoring against Poland in Group B. Yes, they played against Poland also, which they lost. And also we have also Kenyans supporting. We have Kenyans supporting Malkia strikers during their Group B match, as well as tourist visits Kenya House in Paris. That and much more you'll get to find there on the People Daily newspaper on page 30. Now moving on to page 31, where we have Gatimba lives to fight another day. Commonwealth bronze medalist clock season's best minute but finishes 22nd. Coach optimistic as the athletes begin with 10,000 men race. That also you can read, as Kenyans are really trying and doing their best, but we hope for the best. Now, that is what to expect on the People Daily newspaper. Remember, Olympics are on, and as you know, today the vetting of the nominees cabinet secretaries is ongoing in the National Assembly, and we don't want to take much of your time. We just want to take it there straight so that you go and get more and listen on the questions that the members of the parliament are posing to the cabinet nominees, and also vet by yourself whether the nominees are worthy of the offices that they are about to take. Remember, you can also reach us on Facebook page, that is on Blackman TV, on YouTube, BTV Kenya, and we're also giving you an opportunity to come and advertise with us. You have products that you want to showcase. Here is us, BTV Kenya. Remember to reach us. We have to take a break. We have to bring this to an end as we usher in, that is the vetting that's in the National Assembly. Thank you for keeping in touch. I'm Gagia Isaiah. Have a wonderful day.
even livestock, Mutara Ranch, the rest, but it has gone down. I don't know, I will have to, when I get, if I get approval, I have to make sure that I visit them, I know what is ailing them. And the issue is, what role should they play in this dispensation which we are in? For instance, we know that we need a lot of planting materials, we need a lot of, like we are talking about livestock breeds, the Sahiwas, the Borans. What role can they play in that, aligning themselves to that priority in the sector? So that is, when I come in, if I'm approved, is some of the areas which I would like to pursue quickly, because I am sure they have the capacity. They need only to go through what they need to do. Honorable Bayer, thank you for your question. And one of them is, oh, yeah, most of them I'm answered. Yes. Whether I can resist, whether they will be able to make me a billionaire. I come, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, I come from a point of one of my clear areas which I am saying is non-negotiable is that is issues to do with accountability and being able to stand for what is public good. And I think that, to me, will be uncompromised. I'll pray to God that I will not vacate that principle. Yeah, because I need divine intervention. I know it's not easy.
You should start with your will to resist before God helps you. Yes.
I'm wondering, because he's saying he's going to pray. Are you going to pray so that you are not a billionaire? Because the question was, are you going to resist those cartels?
Courage to resist.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
Mule.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Karanja, I have no doubt in my mind you know exactly what entails in the entire agriculture and livestock sector. And as members of parliament, we are here to hear you and your suitability. And I know we are live to the entire public, and quite a number of Kenyans are watching. And I want to get a feedback after this from the Mamamboga, the tea farmer, the coffee farmer, the sugar farmer, whereby you tell them on their face on the actual policies you are going to do. And I'll give you two scenarios. The first scenario is that we have a crisis at the tea sector, whereby 32 billion shillings worth of tea is unsold at the Mombasa auction, whereby it will enter and hamper the payouts to the farmers at the tea sector. As we speak, the Mamamboga at the market right now, who expect to get tomatoes from the local farmers and come and resell to make little money, the entire market as we speak today, Korokosho, Kibera, Kamukunji, any market, it's flooded with tomatoes. It's flooded with skumawiki. It's flooded with onions. It's flooded with cabbage from within the country and our neighbors. How will you handle the imports from our local neighbors to safeguard our local farmers who have gone a serious challenge to produce, and a Mamamboga who is waiting for the same produce at Korogosho market, yet a truck has come from a neighboring country, I don't want to name any, and has already delivered the same produce, reducing the price of tomatoes from 3,000, as we speak this morning, this is a reality, 3,500 per crate to 700 shillings. The farmer is losing because he can't get his input on the produce, and the Mamamboga cannot get an extra coin as expected. The coffee industry, the farmers at this right time Most of them are picking up coffee, taking them to the factories. They are not very sure. They have spent substantial amount of money to produce that coffee. They are not very sure of the market of their coffee if they are selling it. As a cabinet secretary for nominee for agriculture, if, and I use the word if carefully, approved, what did you tell that Kenyan? Don't tell us. We have seen your CV. Mama Boga has not seen your CV. We know your expertise from the document. Tell the real Kenyan down at the grassroots, what will you do as a minister for agriculture to protect them and add chain value for their produce and give them a hope? Thank you.
Russell, just filter the, that was a long speech with one question. So, yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Dr. Karanja, if you will be approved, you will run the largest ministry in government. That contributes almost 25–26% to the Kenyan GDP. That is how important. Agriculture has a lot of distortion around the world. In America, they say 20% of the population feeds the other 80%. While in Kenya, they say that 20% is the land that is actually productive, while 80% is not useless, but a land that is there. Looking at your CV, you have either been a lead consultant or a lead economist in the programs called DRIVE, KSAP, Ending Drought Emergencies and Resilient Program, Carlo, ILRI, Global Environmental Facility, among many others, all dealing in two areas, livestock and the ASAL. These programs are supported by either World Bank or the European Union. But on the reverse, when you look at have those regions really benefited, tell us one program that is successful to say that, yes, it has succeeded. Honorable colleagues have talked about irrigation. Year in, year out, for now, two governments, we are talking about Galana Kulalu. And yet, Mwea irrigation, Moroni, all those were done almost before independence or just around independence. My question to you, one, is Kenya really throwing away good money by engaging with World Bank and European Union, where when they give us 10 shillings, we are told you only give 3 shillings, because that is a matching fund, that we're actually throwing away good money, yet it can do other things. Secondly, the issue of livestock. For those of us, the pastoralist communities, it is our main economy. But the problem in agriculture, even you, as you tried to explain, you kept on talking about dairy. But the cattle that we keep, or the camels, they're actually not dairy, it's beef. And for beef production, if you don't talk about breeding, traceability, disease control, then there is no market. Those from outside will never buy from you. That is why they will tell you that if a heifer is not 350 kilograms, then they cannot buy. So for that reason, my second question is, if you are confirmed, just tell us what is